The sun had already dipped below the horizon when I pulled into our driveway in Maplewood, Oregon. The sky was this deep indigo, and the streetlights cast that kind of soft orange glow that made the whole neighborhood feel calm and sleepy. I'd gotten off work at the auto shop a bit earlier than usual, maybe an hour, and for once, I was actually thankful to have a little extra time to myself. Thought I might catch a game, grab a beer, unwind a bit. But the second I stepped through the front door of our little house, something inside me just shifted. Something was wrong. The house was quiet, too quiet, and there was this weird stillness hanging in the air. I called out, kind of casually at first. "Haley." Nothing. No answer. Her car wasn't in the driveway, but still, I had this feeling in my gut I couldn't shake. I tried to tell myself it was nothing, that she probably just went out with her girlfriends or something. No big deal. But out of habit, I glanced over at the kitchen counter, and that's when I saw her phone. Just sitting there. I picked it up, and instantly, my chest tightened. Why would she leave her phone behind? That's when I noticed the screen was lit up with a message notification. Some random number. It was a video. Against my better judgment, I tapped it open. And everything changed. The video kicked off with loud music, laughter, and the screech of tires. It was filmed in what looked like some abandoned warehouse, dimly lit and filled with a bunch of dudes standing around with red cups and cigarettes, all trying to act cool. And right in the middle of all that chaos, there she was. Haley. She wasn't just there, she was part of it. Laughing, smiling in a way I hadn't seen in years. Her eyes were lit up, sparkling like she was 17 again and didn't have a care in the world. And next to her, right up close, too close, was some guy, tall, athletic build, one of those cocky smirks like he thought the world owed him something. And his hand. It was resting lightly on her lower back. I knew his name before I even fully saw his face. Ryan. I'd heard about him in passing. One of those guys who thinks rules are for other people. Always pushing limits. The kind of guy that made my skin crawl. The video wasn't long. Maybe 20 seconds. But it didn't need to be. That tiny clip showed me more than I ever wanted to see. My wife, the woman I'd built my life with, was out there, caught up in something that didn't belong in our world. She looked like she loved it. When the screen finally went dark, I just stood there. Frozen. The silence around me felt like it was closing in. My fingers clenched around her phone, my knuckles going white. And all I could whisper was, "What the hell are you doing, Haley?" I didn't sleep that night. I just sat there in the living room, staring at the phone, replaying that video again and again. Every frame burned into my brain. The way she smiled at him. The way she didn't even flinch when he touched her. And in my gut, I already knew. She wasn't just slipping away from me. She was already gone. Morning crept in, and I still hadn't closed my eyes. I just sat there on the couch all night, the same spot where I watched that damn video. Haley's phone was dead by now, screen dark and lifeless. But my mind wouldn't shut up. I must have replayed that clip 100 times. Every glance, every laugh, every little touch between her and Ryan, it was burned into my head. I kept trying to convince myself it wasn't what it looked like. That maybe I was jumping to conclusions. But deep down, I knew better. I'd never been great at trusting people, but with Haley, I had. Or at least I thought I had. And now, my gut was screaming at me. This wasn't just some stupid night out that got a little out of hand. This wasn't innocent. She was already halfway out the door. I was just the last one to notice. When she finally walked in that morning, sunlight spilling through the blinds behind her, I was already sitting at the kitchen table, hands wrapped around a mug of coffee I wasn't even drinking. I didn't look at her at first. I just listened to the sound of her keys hitting the counter like it was any normal morning. "Hey," she said, casual like she hadn't just blown up our life. "Sorry, I didn't want to wake you. I stayed at Lauren's." I looked up slowly. My face didn't say much, but inside, I was shaking. "Lauren, huh?" I asked, keeping my voice level, like I wasn't already drowning. "You sure it wasn't Ryan?" The moment I said his name, she froze. Just for a second. But it was long enough. "What?" she whispered, her voice cracking, eyes already full of panic. I stood up, slow and steady, reached into my back pocket and pulled out her phone. Held it out to her like a loaded gun. "You wanna tell me what the hell I saw?" Her face turned pale as snow. She didn't even take the phone. Didn't need to. She already knew what was on it. "Jason, she started, but I cut her off. "Don't," I said. "Don't lie to me. Not now. Just tell me what it is." She tried to come up with something. I could see it in her face. But nothing came out. Just silence. "I'm not stupid, Haley," I said. "I saw everything." She bit her lip, tears brimming in her eyes. For a moment I almost thought she might try to deny it. But instead, she whispered, "I didn't mean for it to happen." My heart felt like it dropped into my stomach. I'd carried engines heavier than the weight that hit me in that moment. "But it did," I said. She started crying, really crying now, like it would change anything. And maybe part of me wanted it to. Maybe part of me wanted to believe that this was just a dumb mistake, something we could get past. But another part of me had already started to shut down. "How long?" I asked. She hesitated. That pause. God, it said more than anything she could have told me. "It's not serious," she said quickly, like that made any of this better. "It was just something different. I don't know. Excitement. I never meant to." "You wanted something I couldn't give you," I snapped. The bitterness in my voice caught even me off guard. "No, it's not like that," she cried, wiping her face. "Then what is it, Haley?" I asked, louder this time, the pain finally ripping through the surface. "What the hell is it?" She didn't answer. She couldn't. I turned away from her, running a hand through my hair, trying to breathe. The woman I had built a whole damn life with was standing right there, crying, saying she was sorry, but I couldn't feel anything except distance. "I can't do this right now," I muttered. She stepped closer. "Jason, please." But I didn't let her finish. "I need time," I said, grabbing my keys and walking out the door without looking back. I didn't even know where I was going. I just knew I couldn't stay there. Not after that. I didn't have a plan when I left the house that morning. I just drove. No destination, no idea where I was headed, just needed to get away from that silence, that suffocating weight of betrayal. The roads were mostly empty, and the town looked like it always did. But for me, everything had changed. I kept thinking about how we got here, how a couple like us, who once shared everything, ended up like this. Haley had been my world. My best friend. The woman I thought I'd grow old with. And now I couldn't even look her in the eyes without seeing him. Without hearing her say those words that crushed me. By the time I found myself parked out by the old dock near the bay, the morning had slipped into afternoon. I used to come here when I needed to think, back before life got too busy. I sat there, watching the waves break against the wooden posts, and felt something start to shift inside me. The pain was still there, but it was changing. Morphing into something else. Something sharper. Determination. Haley had made her choice. That part was clear. But Ryan. He crossed a line. See, Ryan wasn't just some random guy. He had a reputation around town. One of those slick talkers who knew how to walk the edge of the law without getting caught. His friends. Same kind of crowd. They acted like the rules didn't apply to them. Thought they could do whatever they wanted, whoever they wanted, and just keep moving like nothing mattered. Well, they messed with the wrong guy. By the time the sun was high in the sky, I knew exactly what I had to do. I pulled up outside an old garage on the edge of town. The place looked like it hadn't seen a coat of paint in a decade, but I wasn't there for appearances. I was there for the man inside. Jake Morgan. We served together in the Marines. Haven't talked much in recent years. We both went our separate ways after we got out. But if there's one guy I could count on to keep his mouth shut and help me do something unconventional, it was Jake. He was under the hood of a bike when I stepped out of my truck. Looked up, wiped his hands on a rag, and gave me this squint like he couldn't believe it was me. "Damn, Jason," he said. "Long time." "Yeah," I said, trying to smile, though it didn't come easy. "Too long." He tossed the rag aside, arms crossed. "I know that look. What's going on?" I didn't answer right away. I just leaned up against the side of the garage, staring down at the concrete for a second before finally speaking. "I need a favor." Jake didn't blink. Just nodded once and said, "Come inside." The garage smelled like motor oil, steel, and gasoline. All those smells that reminded me of who I used to be before life got complicated. I didn't tell him everything. Just enough. "There's a guy. Ryan Weston. You know him?" Jake's jaw tightened. "Yeah. I know him. You're not the only one he's pissed off." "He's messing with my wife," I said, the words coming out like venom. "And he's got a crew. They think they run this town." Jake leaned against the workbench, quiet for a second. Then he asked the question I'd been expecting. "You're not planning on going after them alone, are you?" I met his eyes, and he saw it. The fire. The answer I didn't have to say out loud. Jake let out a slow breath. "You always were the stubborn one." "I need information," I said, keeping my voice steady. "Where they hang out. Who's in his crew. What they drive. Anything I can use." Jake nodded slowly. That look in his eyes shifted, from concern to focus. "I know a few guys who might still talk," he said. "Give me a couple hours. I'll get you something." I gripped his shoulder. "Appreciate it, man. We do this smart though," he added. "No cowboy crap." I nodded, but the truth? Deep down I knew this wasn't gonna be clean. It wasn't gonna be simple. And it sure as hell wasn't gonna be over quick. They took something from me. And I was going to take something back. Jake didn't waste any time. He handed me a rundown of the crew. Names, places, patterns. He'd heard they had a favorite spot, a rundown bar called Rusty's, out on the edge of town. Real hole-in-the-wall place. According to Jake, that's where Ryan's people felt safest. Off the radar. Untouchable. That's exactly where I wanted them. So I drove out there as the sun was setting, parked across the street, and waited. I wasn't planning on causing a scene. Not yet. I just wanted eyes on someone who could lead me to the next step. That someone was Logan Pierce. Ryan's right-hand guy. The one who moved the cash, set the meetings, kept the cops away. You take Logan out of the picture, the whole operation wobbles. And sure enough, not long after I parked, Logan stepped out the side door. Lit up a smoke. Started chatting on the phone like nothing in the world could touch him. He was about to find out otherwise. I circled around the back of the building, crept through the shadows, kept low and quiet. When I finally stepped out into the alley beside him, he didn't even hear me coming. "Logan." He jumped like I'd fired a shot. Dropped his phone. Eyes wide. "Jason, man. Look, I'm not involved in whatever this is." I stepped in close, grabbed a fistful of his shirt, shoved him against the wall hard enough to rattle his bones. "Tell me where Ryan is," I said, calm but cold. His hands went up like I had a gun. "Warehouse on Briar Road," he said, real quick. "Tomorrow night. It's a big thing. Everyone's gonna be there." "What kind of thing?" "I don't know, some deal I swear. I don't ask questions, I just pass messages." I stared at him for a second, trying to decide if I believed him. Then I let go. "If you've got any sense," I told him, "you'll disappear. Tonight." He didn't wait for a second invitation. I watched him bolt down the alley, then pulled out my phone and sent Jake a message. "It's going down tomorrow. Warehouse on Briar. I'll need you. I'll be there." That was it. No more second-guessing. No more hesitation. Tomorrow night, I was ending this. The next night, I sat parked just down the road from the warehouse on Briar, the engine off, my hands gripping the steering wheel so tight my knuckles ached. The sky was dark except for the pale glow of the moon and a single flickering light hanging over the entrance to the building. The place looked like something out of an old crime movie, rusted siding, broken windows, the kind of place you don't wander into by accident. Jake was already in position. We'd planned it out simple. Create confusion. Hit fast. Isolate Ryan. That was the goal. I didn't want a drawn-out war. I wanted him to feel what I felt. Sudden. Sharp. Irreversible. I took a deep breath and checked my phone. "Jake. Ready when you are." I looked up at the warehouse again. There were 5 or 6 cars parked out front, engines still warm. That told me the crew was inside, and they felt safe. Comfortable. They weren't going to be for long. I slipped out of the truck, moved quick and quiet around the side of the building. The air was cool, my heartbeat steady. This wasn't about rage anymore. It was clarity. Focus. A man pushed far enough into a corner doesn't come out swinging in a frenzy. He comes out like a blade. A flash lit up the far end of the lot. Jake's signal. Pop. Flash grenade. Just enough to cause chaos without permanent damage. Guys inside started yelling. Doors flew open. Some ran out, hands over their eyes, completely thrown off. A couple shouted orders, trying to figure out what was going on. I slipped through a side entrance during the confusion, hugging the shadows. The warehouse was a mess, crates, tools, dim lights, loud echoes. The perfect setting for everything to unravel. And in the center of it all, barking orders, trying to regain control like he was still king of the castle, stood Ryan. His back was turned. He hadn't seen me yet. I stepped into the open and said his name like it was a verdict. Ryan. He froze. Then slowly turned. When he saw me, that smirk he always wore started to form, but it didn't fully land. Something in my eyes must have told him this wasn't like before. Well, look who finally decided to man up, he said, trying to play it cool. Didn't peg you for the dramatic entrance type. I'm not here to talk, I said, stepping closer. You really think this ends the way you want it to? He asked, cracking his neck like he was getting ready to fight. I know it ends tonight, I said. And then he swung. Fast, but not fast enough. I ducked, came up with a shot to his ribs that knocked the wind out of him. He stumbled back, but he wasn't soft. Ryan fought dirty, elbows, knees, wild swings, but I'd been in worse. I stayed on him, one hit after another, driving him across the floor. The fight wasn't clean. It wasn't noble. It was violent. At one point, he landed a hit that split my lip open. Blood ran down my chin, and I tasted iron. But I didn't back down. Because every punch I threw wasn't just for me, it was for every lie. Every night she came home late. Every time I wondered if I was crazy, when I wasn't. Eventually, he went down hard, one knee on the floor, breathing like a man who finally realized he wasn't untouchable. I stood over him. It's over, I said, my voice low, steady. He looked up at me, face bruised, lip bleeding. She came to me, he muttered, one last shot to twist the knife. I didn't flinch. This stopped being about her a long time ago, I said. This is about you thinking you could take anything you want and never pay for it. Ryan didn't have a comeback. Just sat there, broken in more ways than one. Stay away from her, I said. Stay away from this town. I see you again, I won't stop next time. He didn't argue. He knew. Jake showed up a minute later, looked around at the wreckage and gave me a nod. You good? He asked. I wiped my face with the back of my hand, spit blood onto the concrete. Yeah, I said. It's done. And it was. At least, that part of it. The drive home was dead silent. No music. No radio. Just the low hum of the engine and the throb in my jaw where Ryan had landed that last cheap shot. But I didn't feel pain. Not really. What I felt was something closer to numb. Like my body had finally run out of adrenaline and all I had left was the weight of everything that came after. It was over. The warehouse. The fight. Ryan. But I wasn't heading back to celebrate. I just wanted to see if Haley was still there. When I pulled into the driveway, her car was out front. Lights were off in the house, but something told me she'd been waiting. Maybe hoping I wouldn't come home looking the way I did. Or maybe hoping I wouldn't come home at all. I stepped inside. The door creaked like it always did. Everything was quiet. No sounds from the kitchen, no TV on low, no footsteps. Just silence. Jason. Her voice came from the other room, soft and unsure. I walked in and found her sitting at the table, hands wrapped around that same mug of coffee that she never finished. Her eyes were red, makeup smudged. She'd been crying, probably for hours. You're back, she whispered. I nodded. Didn't say anything. She looked down, twisting the ring on her finger, trying to steady her hands. I was scared, she said quietly. I didn't know where you went. I didn't know if you were coming back. I had things to take care of, I said, my voice flat. A beat of silence stretched between us. I'm sorry, she said, tears welling up again. I know I don't deserve to be forgiven. I don't want to lose you. That line. I don't want to lose you. Funny how people only say that after they've already thrown you away. I looked at her, really looked at her, and I could still see the woman I married. But she wasn't the same. And maybe I wasn't either. I don't have time for this right now, I said. Not angry. Just done. She stood up slowly. Jason, what are you planning? I already did it. She blinked, confused. But I didn't give her more than that. Go to bed, Haley, I said. I'll be gone in the morning. She didn't try to stop me. Later that night, I stood outside under the stars, the air cool against my skin, the quiet hitting different than it used to. This wasn't peace. It was the silence after a fire burns out and there's nothing left but scorched earth. When I walked back inside, the house felt like a stranger's place. That's when I saw it, on the table. A note. Jason, I'm sorry. For everything. I know I ruined the life we had, and I don't expect you to forgive me. I don't deserve to stay in this home, or by your side. You don't need to carry me anymore. I'm leaving so you can heal. So we can both move on. Haley. I stood there, holding the paper, eyes scanning the words over and over, even though I got the message the first time. She was gone. I didn't chase after her. I didn't call. I just let it be. Because the truth is, you can fight for someone all you want, but at some point, you have to stop swinging if they're the one who walked away first. I looked out the window one last time. The night sky was clear. Still. And for the first time in a long time, I wasn't. Not angry. Not broken. Just free. Tomorrow would come, and I'd start over. Not because I wanted to. Because I had to. Thank you for visited my YouTube channel. Your support, likes, and comments truly inspire me to create even more engaging content. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you never miss an update. You're a part of this amazing community, and I'm thrilled to share my stories with you. See you in the next video on YouTube.